we believe that we believe that sometimes schools come into communities without permission, um, and they input their mores and values into that community. And we didn't want to assume that just because I was born and raised in DC, that I necessarily knew the needs of the community because I was a student some 20, almost 40 years ago now. And so those needs have changed. And so in designing our model, we did what we call empathy interviews, which is our way of gathering information from parents and from kids. So we did over 100 empathy interviews when we were in the design mode of our school. And what we heard from families is that they wanted a school that was small. They wanted a school where kids had a chance to collaborate, and they wanted a school where young people had a chance to showcase their ideas. And so we took that feedback and we began to develop our model. And we actually did a lot of our piloting in um, I don't know the new name of the library, the previous Lamont Riggs Library before it got rebuilt. We did a lot of our piloting work there in that community because we really wanted to be in Ward 5 in particular, because we saw that there was a gap for strong standalone middle schools in that particular neighborhood. So we launched and got approved in a pandemic, which was a wild part of our story. We didn't anticipate starting a new school um, in a brick and mortar that had to make a pivot to start online. So that was a bit of a rough journey in our first 2 years. I had also had my first child during that time period, and our co-founder had his second child. So it was a lot of life happening at the same time. But by the goodness of through faith and hard work, we were able to still maintain and open our school and have been open ever since. And so our mission is to catalyze an integrated community of scholar activists who are designers of a more just world. And we talk about our school in the concept of our three design principles. We call them our three L's: love, learning, and liberation. And so we do a lot of work around making sure that students feel a deep sense of belonging and connection within our community as the foundation of our work, because we believe that young people will learn from us when they know that we love them very explicitly. So that creates the condition for them to be learning. And then we want to create young people who are motivated to become agents of change in their community. And that gets us to liberation. So oftentimes, a lot of people might ask, like, do you want every kid at your school to be like an organizer? And we say, No, that's actually not what we mean when we say social justice. What we mean is that we want our young people to have an ethos of social justice that, regardless of what field or industry they choose to go into, that they feel motivated to make the world a better place when they see something that's unjust. So that for us is what we mean when we talk about social justice in our school. Our school is important, especially given the times that we're in with the um, just the vision that's happening in our community. We're really trying to be a model for a school where young people are given the opportunity, not what to think, but how to think is how we often talk about our school as well. And so in our community, these are a few of our community members. We're a diverse community, both in terms of home language and socioeconomic status. About 70% of our students are at risk. 90% of our students are identify as Black, and then 10% of them identify as um, Latino, and so or Latina. And so we are excited for this really small, intentionally community that we've built here. And these are just a uh, pictures of some of our kids and our families as well. And so in these past 5 years, we've done a lot of things great or well. And of course, we're always transparent about things we need to grow on. So we're meeting the goals within our charter for this previous school year. And we've also secured a permanent facility um, in the future. Um, Great question, Mr. Robinson. I'm gonna answer that right now just because I see it. And I want to make sure I don't forget it. When we first started the school, the students came mostly from Ward 7 and 8, but last year and starting this year, most of our applications are actually from Ward 4, 5, and 7. And so we do outreach across all wards of the city. And of course, we accept students across all wards, but we're seeing a slight demographic shift in where applications are coming from for this year during the lottery season as well. And so we did find a permanent home, which is a pretty big, significant milestone for a school. Um, and our program, when students, the data tells us that when students stay with us for 2 or more years, they're more than likely to be proficient on the DCK, which is the statewide assessment. And our kids are also improving. We take MAP as another indicator of success as well. And so those are just some of the highlights that we have. And then our kids are actually um, we've decreased our chronic absenteeism by about 35%. We have some of the lowest chronic absenteeism rates across the city, especially in Ward 5. And our students, compared to other schools in Ward 5, in terms of at risk, have slightly outperformed some of their peers in math and in ELA. So a lot of great things have happened. The other thing that I will tell you about is that we've become a community school, and so we have a variety of wraparound services that and partners that we provide for our families. And we've also started to begin the work around economic mobility. Some of our kids have been studying poverty and looking at child poverty in particular in DC. And through a part of their research, they had found out about Councilman Parker's child tax credit. So we had Councilman Parker come and talk to our kids about that. And we also introduced them to this concept called basic income or guaranteed income. And so we had asked kids in a bunch of different like kind of focus groups around like if money was not an option, what could we do in order to reduce child poverty in DC? And our kids came to the conclusion that's backed by a lot of research, which is that families who experience poverty like need more cash. As you all know, during the pandemic with the stimulus checks, that was the first time in a very long time in our country where we saw poverty rates begin to reduce both nationally and in here in DC. And so this summer, we partnered with an organization called Mothers Outreach Network to launch the first guaranteed income pilot at a school here in DC. So it was 3 months. Um, Heads of household received a monthly stipend, and the kids received a monthly stipend as well. And we did that for 3 months, starting in August of this summer or last summer. And the results were predictable and amazing, which is that 100% of the families felt like they could meet their basic needs while they were in the pilot. So we applied for an additional round of funding, and through our partnership with the Health Equity Fund, we were able to expand our pilot for 30 families and 30 kids for this coming school year and for next school year. So it'll be a 24-month trial where kids will receive a weekly stipend and families also will receive a monthly stipend. And the only qualification is that they had to be considered economic disadvantage or at risk, and we use a lottery system to choose those families. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing, um, not only in terms of like academics, but also our model is to be a real community school and meet the needs of students in their communities. But we also have some areas of things that we need to grow on. And so we started out co-locating at the Rocket Ship facility that's on 3rd Street. So we were there for our first 4 years. And then we had a bit of a transition. We were working on, and I'm going to go through this in a second, but last school year and the school year before that, we spent about 18 months trying to find a new location because we knew that our time at Rocket Ship would eventually become to an end as growth schools were growing. So it was a lot of uncertainty. We were able to partner with the Impact DMV Church, which is right around the corner from the Fort Titan station, as like a temporary kind of swing site for our school. And then we had contracted to have modular classrooms to be right behind the Audis with the K Fritz Foundation. And so that development took a while. And some families, wanted some more security. And so that was a big of an impact on some of our enrollment. And then another challenge for us is that because we're 5 years now in the making, we no longer have, this is our last year where we'll have like our what we call our founding families still be at our school because all of those kids would have graduated and gone to eighth grade and gone to high school. So with that, the implications though is that the kids that we're getting are behind compared to the kids who have been with us for 2 years, and so we've had to make some changes to like our summer programming and our after school programming as well to make sure that we meet the needs of our kids. And so, as I mentioned, this is kind of, I'm not going to read everything in here, but this is just kind of like the timeline of what happened as we were going through securing a permanent facility. And so we started out in summer 2023. We reviewed a lot of properties all across DC. We had done some ANC engagement with Commissioner Gordon at the time and Zachary Parker, Commissioner Parker as well, and did a bunch of financial analysis as well. And the real thing that made us, I mean, we always wanted to stay in the Lamar Riggs neighborhood, but we had a lot of families who were like, if y'all move and it's too far, then we're going to move. And so we wanted to be responsive to the needs of our families. So we decided to stay in the Lamont Briggs neighborhood. And so this is our previous site, so 5450. So it's not a long distance. It's like literally across the street from our old location. And then as you can see, 333 Kennedy Street, this right here would be like the equivalent of the metro on the other side if you were walking from the other on, I believe that's Madison Street. So we're right behind the Audis. You can't miss us. It's six mobile classrooms that are behind the Audis. So that's our current location where we are right now. We'll be here for this school year and next school year until we get our permanent facility. So, like I mentioned, so I'm just gonna check the chat because I saw a couple questions. Thanks, Commissioner Bokum. So there were a couple of factors again that made us want to stay in the Lamont Riggs neighborhood, which is mostly making sure that we had a building that could meet as our enrollment grew, but also like being really true to our community and wanting to be a community school. There were a lot of options that we could have considered. Some in Ward 4. This is the most viable option in Ward 5. There were some in Ward 7 and 8, but as you all know, facilities is really hard to come by for charter schools because we're not given our buildings. And so we were able to work with the K Fritz Foundation for them to build our permanent facility, which will be, the address will be 5455 3rd Street. And that's the abandoned building that's right across the street from the rocket ship school. So that's where our home will be in the school year 26, 27. And so we're in the phase where we are working out the schematic designs, and then we'll start to submit permits and breaking ground for construction in a few months. But I wanted to just show you some of the designs because this will be a building in our community. I live technically technically it's Ward 4, but I'm on 35 Buchanan Street, so I live right near the school, so I walk to school often. So it's a school in our community, I like to say. And so here's what the potential exterior of the school will be. So it'll be a complete renovation from the inside. They won't be demolishing any of the outside. And this is the floor design for, so this is like how some of the classes will look for our school as well. So like I said, our next steps, our modular classrooms are there. We still do have like gym at the church in their basements, and like for our students who receive additional services like speech or OT or any other therapeutic services, those happen at the church because the modulars are small, so we use all of them to make sure that our students can get the instruction that they need. And so, like I said, we're going to be in the process for submitting the permits, and hopefully, pending construction will be in our new building for school year 26, 27. And we're committed to making sure that we share these updates. Um, I did get a chance to meet with some other community members, and uh, we were informed that there's a bit of a challenge with a blind spot that is on Third Street, where like if you're coming down it, you might not be able to see some of the cars. And so we are trying to work with Rocket Ship and the K Fritz Foundation. They said that they would consider trying to see if DLB would allow us to put like a speed bump right there to at least slow the traffic down. But we want to be responsive to the needs of the community and any other issues that might come from pick up and drop off. Most of the traffic, we have two different starting times since there are two schools there. So rocket ship starts earlier, we start later. So the traffic last year was a little bit intense, but this year it has gotten a lot better because of the staggered times.
What time
So
does each school start?
9 o'clock.
What time does rocket ship start?
I know it's within the 8 o'clock range, but I don't know exactly their start timing.
Okay, so your students arrive at 9,
Yes.
or they arrive like 8:45 kind of thing?
Yeah, like 8:45, we give them breakfast. 8:30, they can come in and we give them breakfast. But because our kids are a little older, most of them take the metro. I would say probably about 10% of our families get dropped off, and that's mostly the younger grades, so most of them take the metro. So I will pause here and happy to answer any questions. Thankful to have the opportunity to connect with you all, and hopefully we can um, have a partnership that lasts for a very long time.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Is it grade 5 through 8?
Yes. Parents have asked us to make a high school, but we are not in that business. Um, yes, Rocket Ship is pre-K 3 to 5. Yes. So we get a lot of students. That's like it's not our feeder pattern because we don't have any by right, but we get a lot of Rocket Ship kids because they end in fifth grade. And so we get a lot of their kids in sixth grade, sometimes in fifth grade as well. Right now, thank you, Mr. Robinson. Right now, it's a 30-year lease.
Is
Go
it?
ahead. Anyone can feel free to unmute themselves and go ahead, answer and ask a question or express a concern.
This is Deb. I just had a question. Once your students leaves your school, what high school do most of them matriculate to?
Yes, that's a great question. It depends. We've had two cohorts of eighth graders graduate since we've opened in 5 years. This will be our third cohort. We have kids going to the selective schools like Duke Ellington, School Without Walls, Banneker. We've had kids go to their neighborhood school and other charter high schools and DCPS schools as well. So we don't really have like a feeder pattern per se, but we have had students get in all types of high schools that they would like to. But we have a pretty robust program that supports parents in, thinking about the needs of their kids and submitting applications for schools. We have seen though that a lot of our kids and their parents choose smaller high schools as opposed to larger high schools just because we're a really intentionally small school. So we have 104 kids this year, and the largest that we'll ever get that we can get is 300. But I doubt that we would even end up getting that large in the next 4 years. Yeah, thank you. And yes, extracurricular facilities. So there will not be a gym, like a full-size gym um in the building just because that uh would definitely increase the cost of the renovation for both the K-Fritz Foundation and for us in terms of rent. There will be a large multipurpose space and cafeteria space, and then we have our social justice maker space, which is our lab where we have like our 3D printers and we have our podcast stations. So in terms of like community access, we would definitely open that space up for adults to use some of the high-tech equipment. And we would also open the community up, our space for like if you all wanted to host your meetings there, we would gladly have you all be able to, have a classroom to host meetings there as well. Yeah, and the full capacity, there'll be about 14 classrooms in the building. So technically the building could hold about 400 kids, but we will never be that large. We have no desire to be that large of a school community. Yes, we partner with Red Rabbit. It's a minority-owned business, newer to DC, mostly in New York and New Jersey. And the food comes hot and ready for us, ready to.
Okay, so you don't cook it on site.
No, we don't cook it on site.
You don't have you're not going to plan to have a commercial kitchen or anything like that.
No, and we thought about it, but it's just an additional cost for a small school like ours with like staffing and also compliance. The kids like this food vendor, like they actually advocated to change it from last year because they didn't really love the food, and so they feel really accomplished that they got a vendor that now serves food that they like. So I don't think we'll consider having like a full commercial kitchen.
Do most of your students get, or what percentage of your students get free and reduced meals? Do you know?
Uh, yeah, 100%.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Is that, do they all have to fill out the form and they all qualify? Or is it just, is it done like on a school-wide basis? Like, is it basically like every single person applied and qualified or,
Yes, there's within um the food division within OSSI, there are certain requirements that like if you have a certain percentage of kids, once you have that percentage of kids, you automatically all kids would qualify. So we meet that bar for the number of kids who
okay,
qualify. Yeah.
cool. If that were to change, like, would you start charging like a certain price for, I mean, do you know how much you would charge if that wasn't the case for lunch?
I mean, we would subsidize it heavily. We don't believe in charging kids for food.
Cool. Any other questions
Do you have after school?
after
Uh,
school?
yes, ma'am. We have after school every day. So Monday and Tuesday, our hours are 9 o'clock to 3:45. Wednesday, our hours are 9 o'clock to 12:30 because we do professional development for teachers on Wednesdays. But we offer aftercare from 12:30 to 5:15 on Wednesdays. On Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, it's 3:45 to 5:15, and we don't charge aftercare. And so some of the programs that we offer are we have a photography course, we have like a robotics course. We have a like t-shirt making course, an entrepreneurial course. We partner with an organization called Black Swan Academy. They're a middle school advocacy group, so we have a partnership with them, and we have a cooking course as well. So we have a pretty robust list of offerings at no charge. And we also partner with Banneker and Georgetown to do tutoring after school for our kids as well. And it's at no charge to families.
Wow, that's amazing. How many students you said you have currently?
104.
Wow. Do you guys have like some billionaire backers or something that are helping you fund this? This is amazing.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we're small but scrappy.
Hmm.
But we don't have any billionaires. But if anyone knows any billionaires or high net worth individuals, please pass them our way because especially, I mean, we're fighting. I'm sure you all are also advocating. Our entire school community, families, kids, teachers have been sending mass emails to members of the House of Representatives trying to persuade them to um, pass
Not,
the
yeah.
legislation that will protect our budget because this is going to be a significant impact on both on the charter community in particular. And at our school, if at its most conservative outcome, it could be an impact of like $450,000 less that we would get as a result of the potential cuts that might be coming. So we are doing all that we can. I'm happy to send a petition link to you all tonight before the meeting is if you want to support it, but we're trying to make sure that Congress hears our voice and that we support um, Congressman Collins in his effort to try to get this bill approved in the House of Representatives.
And how are you paying for the construction?
So K-Fritz is doing is it's a turnkey deal, so they're taking the cost, and then we pay it back eventually over time in rent. So
Okay.
they're building the building for us.
So do you have to pay for like 30 years or something like that?
I
Or
mean,
how long do you have to pay?
they expect us to inhabit the building for 30 years, but we could have a subtenant if we needed to. So if we wanted to like co-locate with another school, we have the option to do that. But they've been really good partners in this work, especially for a small school like ours, like having this be the opportunity for the permanent facility and not having to take out like a loan from the bank, which becomes a risk and a liability, has been an amazing opportunity for us. So we're really thankful.
That's great. I'm just trying to understand, like, is there a certain point at which you will have paid back the construction costs and like your rent will go down or anything like that?
I mean, I think if um 30 years is a long time from now. I'm not giving away my age, but I'll be in my 70s by then. So I don't know what will happen in 30 years. But in an ideal world, we would want to position ourselves to grow our enrollment, to continue to do our development work, to eventually have this be a property that we own. I mean, that's every, I think, organization's dream. We don't want to pay rent forever, but we have a few decades in order to get closer and closer to that.
I was just wondering what if you guys had discussed that with K Fritz, like what the plan was for, for how long you have to pay and is there an eventual plan for you guys to own the building? Like, have you guys discussed that with K Fritz?
No, I mean, the terms of the lease is just a 30-year lease for now, but we're in open conversation and it has not been a hostile partnership or negotiation at all. And so I think that, as we continue to show good faith and they continue to show good faith and we can continue to build our relationship, I'm sure that those conversations will happen later on down the line.
Okay, thanks.
Can
Yeah,
you
of course.
how many kids from our immediate area? Uh,
Like 5A and like 4B or something.
mhm.
Yeah, I have to check that because the way that it works, like when families submit their information in the lottery for My School DC, it it only rolls up and gives us the ward information. It does not break it down by like
A and C.
A and C, right? I know we have a few families that live in the modern that go to our school, but I'd have to try to dig in. I would have to analyze every address in order to see that particular data. Um,
Elaine, is there a certain reason why you wanted to know that as far as like, is it worth having him do all that? That's a lot of research.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying because we have so many people, so many schools that open up our wards with our kids. Our immediate kids cannot even take advantage of it. The facilities.
But it sounds like this school, like, do you have any vacancies or is it, how is that working?
we do. I mean, we enroll kids even after what's called count day in the city, which is how they determine how much funding you get. So we've enrolled seven new kids since October, because we believe that like families come to us when they need us, and even though we don't always receive funding for those students, we just see that as an act of justice. And so if a family applies to our school, they're very likely to get in because we have vacancies in our seats, and we really believe in supporting families when they are in our journey, when they come to us in their journey for or looking for a new school. And
Great. Yeah, that's
cool.
great. Any other questions? Um, is the person who's going to be presenting on Wednesday on the call by any chance? Because
Uh,
you weren't available to present on Wednesday, right?
I don't think so, but it will be our co-founder. Thank you, Mr. Robertson. It'll be our co-founder, Brandon Johnson. He was our principal for the first 4 years, but he's still at the school. So it'll be similar information. Uh,
Okay, yeah. If you could just convey to him that it needs to be like 5 minutes. Like it needs to be a lot shorter because there's other topics to be discussed. At the meeting on Wednesday is for all of 5A. This is just
Okay.
5A09. So yeah, I mean, this was great that we were able to, have a lot of detail and, learn a lot about your school, which is a fantastic school, it sounds like. But as for the presentation on Wednesday, it would have to be a lot shorter and
Okay.
more focused on the building. Like, like here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna move from the, trailers to the, warehouse. Cape Fritz is building it out, just that kind of thing.
Uh,
That's gonna be the focus.
okay. I will work with him to revise the deck then and try to send it to you tomorrow.
Okay. But it is good for us to have this. And if you don't mind, I probably will send it out to folks. Is that fine to send it out to people in the community?
Of
This
course.
presentation? Okay, cool. That'll be great. Yeah. So it is good to have all the detail when people may be interested. Are there any other questions for Mr. Long?
Oh, I just have one other thing to say. Mr. Long, I think that you're doing a fantastic job helping the children, and it's much needed all over the city, all over the world. And social justice, I know a lot about it, and you just right on the mark. But I do want to say again, I understand that from the last meeting we had about the school that was near North Capitol Street, if,
Was that
if
DC bilingual?
I think so, I'm not sure, but it says that if you have people that live in the neighborhood that meet a certain criteria, that they can also apply for the school and they don't have to go through the lottery.
Hmm. I don't think this one has that feature, but it sounds like Mr. Long, you said you were able to add people throughout the year. So it sounds like,
Yeah, we were able to add people. I, I I'm not sure of the school that you're talking about, Ms. Austin, but I believe like every child still has to go through the lottery as a unless that school does not participate in My School DC. So some schools can opt to not participate in My School DC and they have more flexibility. Most schools don't choose that option. Um, but for the schools that participate in the lottery, they do have to apply. Some schools have given what they call like a at-risk preference. I know DC Bilingual has that, which means that they intentionally want to increase the amount of kids who are at risk to be in their school. But I can definitely say with confidence that families who apply to our school are very likely to get in because we tend to have vacancies as a small school and we try to accept kids not only at the start of school, but also, we just had a new student start like 3 weeks ago. So we try to accept students all throughout the school year.
that's really admirable. I know a lot of charter schools don't do that because you don't get money for that, right?
Right, exactly.
That's great. You guys are definitely living your values. I really respect that.
We
So
try.
does anyone have any concerns or any issues with this plan for the SJS to move into the warehouse next to their current location?
Is the
Um,
parking available? What about the parking?
Oh, great question. Yeah, we very limited, unfortunately. But we we currently right now there will be three parking spaces for the building, but in the past 4 years or past 5 years, we've partnered with the Modern to provide parking lot spaces for our teachers. So the majority of our teachers park in the Modern's parking lot, the one that's like right adjacent to the Rocket Ship building. K-Fritz is also trying to open up some parking spaces in their garage as well.
is
Um,
that the one by the Aldi?
I think so. Yeah,
Because that parking garage is pretty big and pretty empty. I
it
mean, I
is.
know people would have to pay for that, but still, it is available parking.
It really is very empty. And I think it's free for the first like 90 minutes. I'm putting my email in the chat, so feel free to send me an email or and my cell as well. Feel free to give me a call. We also know that we have middle school students, so if you ever see our kids, we're not like a real strict uniform school, so sometimes kids wear uniforms, sometimes they don't. It's just mostly a shirt. But if you ever see our young people being adolescents out in the community, like let us know. We will definitely hold them accountable and work with their families as well, because we chose middle school for a reason. But we really want to thank you for this opportunity to connect with you all and hope that you all will come to some of our community events soon.
Thank you. We appreciate your time to present this. It sounds like a great school. If my kids were younger, I would definitely consider sending them there. It sounds like a great school. So I guess I just, I just wanted to get a sense of, folks on the call. If anyone has any concern about this, let me know, because we need to, have a shorter meeting on Wednesday with all of 5A, just to see whether all of, 5A agrees with this plan, because it's a construction in the neighborhood, and we just want to make sure everyone's on board with it. So does anyone have any concerns?
And this is Deb again. I would just add that during the discussion on Wednesday, if Myron or his designee can also talk about the impact on traffic. I know that, coming through that area like 3 o'clock in the evening and how traffic backed up. And while the majority of it may be going to Rocket Ship, it still tends to back up down to South Dakota Avenue. And so if he could just make that point that he made earlier about most of his students will be taking the metro and less likely to have that type of increase, let me just say, the congestion, particularly around the 3 o'clock time.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Miss Deborah.
Ms. Renford, was there any concern that the OAG might have, or any interest that the OAG had in this construction project?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Not on the side of the construction piece, but we do have some youth initiatives that I'd like to send your way, Myron.
Oh, please do. We would love that.
Okay, great. I'll get do you all publicize emails? I can't remember. I've been on the
You
site
posted it in the
before.
chat.
Okay, great. Alrighty, I'll follow up tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it for SJS. Now, is there any other issues in the community in the 5A09 neighborhood that anyone wanted to bring up? Otherwise, we can wrap up. Yes, Shamik?
So I noticed maybe about a week or maybe 2 weeks ago, I don't remember the exact date, but the pathway between Galloway and Gallatin was cut off for a day during part of the day because the National Park Service cut down some trees. And I didn't know if that tree cutting was in service of improvement work that's going to happen over the pathway, maybe to upgrade it into something more walkable or not. So I wanted to inquire about that. Like, I don't expect an answer right now because I don't even know if anybody recognized that happened. But I'm particularly interested in getting the path to be upgraded to be more walkable and more weatherproof. When we have rain or snow, it becomes pretty impassable, especially if you have young people. So I have a 2-year-old, and when it rains a lot or heavy rain or we get snow, we can't use it. Like
You can't really take a stroller through the mud, right?
No, like we can't walk through it or take a stroller. Like it's unsafe.
Okay.
So I'm just really interested in kind of advocating for some type of upgrade to that path cut through. But other than that, that's the only piece that I really am raising at this point.
Okay, I'll look into that. I'll talk with NPS and find out what their schedule is like for improving that path, because I know that it's been kind of on the agenda and the back burner for some time, but I'll see what that's looking like, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other issues or concerns for the neighborhood. So there's going to be a call on Wednesday, I think 6:45 for all of 5A. So I hope everyone, if available, please feel free to attend that meeting. And you should have received an email about that. If not, email me and I can forward you that invite. I'm gonna put my email in the chat here. So yeah, that meeting is Wednesday at 6 p.m. And yeah, we'll have a shorter version of this, hopefully, Mr. Long, just because like there's other topics that we need to discuss. But definitely this is important, and I personally think social justice school sounds fantastic, and I'm happy to have it in the neighborhood. I don't see why anyone wouldn't, but we want to have people's voices heard. We want to have open communication, lines of communication, and just have everyone know what's going on. So
Definitely.
thank you very much, Mr. Long, for your presentation and letting us know, and for your great work that you're doing at the school and educating our young people. That's really wonderful.
Thank you all.
Anyone else have any comments or anything you want to say before we close? All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I really appreciate your attendance, and hopefully we'll see some of you on the call on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.